The Ford F-Series is iconic. It dominates the truck market, the best-selling vehicle in America, and now we have an all-electric version, the new Ford F-150 Lightning. So we've had a Lightning before, but that one had a V8, made great noises, was a ton of fun, not a lot of traction, but enjoyable. And this one is pretty much different in every single way. I mean, it's all electric. 2 different battery packs available. The standard battery pack yields 452 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque. Going to the upgraded extended range battery pack yields 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time in the mid 4 seconds range, which is quite impressive for a pickup truck. Now, range is also a very important number. So the standard battery pack yields 230 miles of all-electric range. Going to the upgraded battery pack has 320 miles of range, unless you have a platinum trim like this one. Those big 22-inch wheels have a significant detriment to the range, actually. So this one's rated at 300 miles of pure electric range. And we're just talking about driving the truck on its own, nothing with towing yet. 300 miles rated for this F-150 Lightning Platinum. We've driven the GMC Hummer EV Super Truck, we've driven the Rivian R1T, and now this F-150 Lightning. So today we're going to do a review of this Lightning, talk about what it's like, and also compare it to the other electric pickup trucks in the segment. Today's video has been sponsored by Recurrent. They provide electric vehicle battery health reports. They have 3 different kinds of reports. A one-time snapshot if you're looking to buy an EV and you want to know about the possible health of the battery. They offer owner reports, which are more recurring, regular ones that tell you the state of health on your battery, how your charging habits are, the potential range in 3 years of your EV, how temperature may have an effect. In the winter you will have less range. How much is that going to be? And lastly, they also offer dealer reports for the health of the batteries and all the EVs they may have in inventory. Check out my link below for Recurrent if you own an EV or you're thinking about buying an EV. They have some really awesome information. It's a great service for electric vehicles. In terms of exterior styling, the Lightning actually looks pretty conventional. So the lighting, this front light bar here across the entire front fascia and on the back there with the tail lights, is one of the cues that is the most modernized and updated. But if you step away, it does look pretty much like a regular F-150, except we have no front grille here. And if I press this button here, we have a front trunk. Because again, there's not an engine underneath there. So this is a lockable sealed storage space. You have outlets and all sorts of stuff. This is one of my favorite parts of the F-150 Lightning, the fact that you have this front trunk, which I think is pretty awesome. But if you step back, I mean, the lighting is really, really cool on the Lightning. We have a badge, we have the blue accents there on the side of the bed, but otherwise pretty conventional looking. One interesting touch is on the driver's side, you have the charging port. On the passenger side, you actually have a similar looking one, but it's not a port. It looks like decorational to keep it symmetric across the both sides. So with that, let's hop inside Lightning. We're going to take it for a drive. We'll talk about the interior, the technology, what it's like to drive, and lastly, the value. This thing is definitely quick. That's a lot of torque. So inside the F-150 Lightning, now this one is a platinum trim, so very upper tier, a lot of luxury touches, a lot of technology, but overall, it feels very conventional F-150, especially when you get out of something like a Hummer EV or the Rivian R1T. If you've been in a modern F-150, this will feel very comfortable and familiar. The center is dominated by this 15.5-inch vertically oriented infotainment touchscreen running the latest version of Sync. It's the same as the one that you'd find in the Mach-E. I actually have grown to really like this system. You can run CarPlay up top. It's got wireless CarPlay below. You've got these little tiles that you can swipe through, your climate control here, and it's very well set up. But then things like the steering wheel, the digital cluster, the buttons here, the center console layout, all is familiar if you've been in an F-150. So nothing like crazy super space age minimalist. This is just a nice conventional, a familiar interior. It's got the same thing with you can toggle down the transmission selector and it folds out the center console into a table, stuff like that. The seats are multi-way adjustable. They are heated and cooled. We have a heated steering wheel, and We have massage seats, which I haven't turned on yet, which is something I do almost every single time. As soon as I get in the vehicle, we're going to turn on my driver massage, go to full recovery, and they're quite nice. So the interior is spacious, opening at the full panoramic roof there too. You can open that up, but again, balanced with feeling like an F-150, which I think is a good thing because these new trucks have phenomenal interiors, and as a Platinum, this is optioned up quite nicely. In terms of technology, so the F-150 Lightning does come with Blue Cruise, which is Ford's hands-free driver assistance system on selected supported roads. It's watching you. It's got a little sensor there that says Blue Cruise, and you'll get notification on the center digital cluster. When Blue Cruise is enabled, you can go hands-free. I tried it out on some of the freeways. It's pretty good. Not quite on the level of the Super Cruise system and something like a Cadillac Escalade or the Hummer EV, but it's pretty good. A little bit of open space right now. That's quick. It's interesting. So I've spent time with the Raptor and then into this. They're both F-150s, but just such a different performance aspect of it. The Raptor is a Baja truck, right? Off-roading, it makes noises, it's got the off-road suspension and tires. The Lightning, even though this is the Platinum trim with the upgraded 22-inch wheels and the larger tires, has the instantaneous torque and doesn't make those noises. So in normal, sport mode, there's an off-road mode, there's a tow haul mode, but any mode you're in, if I just roll onto the the accelerated pedal, it just goes. Some other technical aspects. So this is an F-150 that's been adapted to the Lightning usage, electricity. So we've got a battery pack that helps lower the center of gravity, dual motor, so it's all four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. It's got trailer and tow capability and payload capability, but that's what we're going to touch upon, something that I know people are already going to be commenting on. And goes, well, you get an electric pickup truck and it can do 270 miles of range or 300 miles of range. As soon as you tow, it's going to be 5 miles of range. Not 5, but it does drop quite a lot. Now, I've seen all sorts of customer testimonials in terms of what kind of range they're seeing while towing, and it's going to drastically drop quite a lot. So if you're somebody who wants to tow a trailer from here to Florida, maybe this is not quite ready for you yet. But charging speed is almost becoming more important of a metric than pure all-out all-electric range. So on a 150 kilowatt charger, the F-150 Lightning is capable of going from 15% to 80% battery in approximately 40 minutes. So again, filling up a gas tank is always going to be faster, but that's pretty good on fast charging to get you a good amount of range on a fast charger. Towing, you're going to get less. In the winter, you're going to get a lot less. And already at 300 miles, I haven't seen 300 miles on a full charge. It got delivered to me right around it was showing a 270 miles of indicated, and I'm at about just under 50% battery right now, and it's indicating 130 miles of range remaining. We've got auto hold. I can take my foot off the brake and it holds it there. The digital cluster is quite nice too. I like a lot of the animations, the startup welcome sequence that cascades across both the screens. Even just a simple thing of like the regen. They got this like almost gear-shaped thing on the left that shows your range because it doesn't have a tachometer on that side. And when you let off the accelerator, it kind of like opens up and starts showing energy flowing back into the battery pack as it's using the regen braking. So that's pretty cool. Graphics on this infotainment screen are quite nice. Obviously, it's very spacious. We've got outlets, all sorts of usage. Pro Power onboard is option too, so you can run appliances, like essentially use this thing as like a generator of sorts, and also charge other EVs. And I think I saw one of the auto reviewing magazines, the car magazines, tried an experiment where they plugged the Lightning into itself, because you could use it to charge, let's say you have a neighbor with a Mach-E and they need an emergency charge. You could plug another EV into this, but they plugged the F-150 into itself and it was just happily moving electrons around. Obviously, you would have parasitic losses, so it's not just an infinite energy machine, but it was happy to start trying to charge itself, which I think is just hysterical. I mentioned the front trunk briefly already, but that's one of my favorite features of going to an all-electric platform is your packaging can change. So not having a bunch of mechanical stuff up there, that's, I believe, 14 cubic feet sealed. It's got drain plugs. So I saw somebody, you can put like a cooler in there and put ice and drinks if you're tailgating or something like that. You can store stuff there. Right now I have my camera gear, my tripod in there, so it's not in the back seat. It's just a contained usable storage space. I owned a truck for a year, or at least a truck for a year. I got it because I wanted something that was a little more comfortable, a little more rugged, and handled not so great roads, and maybe could haul some stuff around. I had a Ram 1500, but maybe I used the bed a handful of times to move, to buy some furniture. I'm not a huge truck guy. I used it to transfer some wheels and tires. Most of the time I found myself putting my backpack with my laptop, my camera gear, groceries in the cabin in the back seat. So for my usages, a luxury crossover or a SUV or something probably would have made much more sense than a $70,000 Ram. Having a front trunk though would be great because it's sealed, it's contained, it's safe from the weather and rain and cold and things like that, right? It's more insulated. So I think the front trunk is really, really cool. We get to the pricing. We'll talk about that a little bit out of order. We'll talk about pricing, then we'll talk about how it drives compared to some of the competitors. This as a Platinum is well over $90,000. And even if you don't want all the luxury fancy massage seat features of the Platinum, to get the extended range battery pack, it's going to be 75 grand. Let's call it right around there. The base price of a Pro super like stripped out basic work truck essentially is still going to be, I believe, in the 40s, but you get up to close to $100,000 with an F-150 Platinum Lightning. That's a lot of money. All these electric trucks are definitely very expensive, but even normal trucks are getting expensive too. Like I briefly mentioned, my Laramie was $70,000 for a Ram 1500. Raptors, I mean, are selling for 100 grand, but that's a very enthusiast-oriented vehicle in high demand. So that is the price tag. Incentives, tax, rebates, all that type of stuff for electric vehicles, I believe, still exists for the Lightning because it is pretty new. And I think those are segmented based on a model, like you kind of use them up. So I'm pretty sure, like Tesla owners, you can't really get them for a Model S anymore because they've had so many of them out there. In terms of price, this is expensive, but that can segue us into talking about some of the competitors. The GMC Hummer EV is even more expensive. That's well into the $100,000 range. They call it a super truck, and I think it's fitting. It's 1,000 horsepower. It's way bigger, way more capable. The rear wheel steering is crazy. The off-road capabilities and like crab walk and Watts of Freedom launch mode. It's a halo product, right? It's way up there. This definitely feels much more, hey, we're trying to reach the targeted masses. This is what normal people will need to use with their pickup trucks. So it doesn't have a lot of those kind of fun, not Easter eggs, but just the fun little features added on that the Hummer does. Now, the Rivian R1T is really appealing. It's really interesting. It's from a smaller startup company, so they have some things they're working through. I think the OEM, the larger ones, Ford, GM, they feel a little more solid. The Rivian is a fantastic first effort. It has a lot of performance, a lot of cool technology, a lot of really innovative things like the gear tunnel and like the Bluetooth speaker and things like that. And the materials inside are phenomenal. The inside of a Rivian makes, I mean, I hate Tesla interiors. They're garbage to me. The Rivian is just so far above it. It's also smaller than the F-150. It sits kind of between a Ranger and a F-150 in terms of size, a little more compact. I think the styling is really cool too. There's going to be more of these trucks coming. Chevy will have the Silverado. I'm pretty sure GMC will have an all-electric one based off the Ultium platform. I'm sure Ford will continue to revise these. We'll probably get a smaller one, a bigger one. I mean, we have electric everything coming. So right now, in terms of how it stacks up, it's interesting. If you're looking for something that feels much more conventional, get this. If you want something that turns heads and is just like, whoa, it's a Rivian, well, get the Rivian. So final thoughts wrapping up living with this F-150 Platinum Lightning. It has a really nice interior, and I like the technology. I like how it feels familiar, right? Having been in other F-150s, the Tremor, the Raptor, this is like the luxury interior. All the screens are very well done. Blue Cruise is pretty awesome. The power is great. It just torque always on demand. The range has me a little bit disappointed. The charge time is good, but I admit I have had a little bit of range anxiety this week with this, mainly because this is a pre-production truck and for some reason it's not cooperating with the level 2 charger I have at work. Again, full transparency. It worked on the regular level 1 charger. I plugged it into just a wall outlet, but then I got to work on Friday at like, I don't know, 10 or something, like 9 or 10, and I went to plug it in, had 68% range remaining. It was showing like 168 miles of range remaining at 68% charge. Plugged it in, and it said, estimated time to 100%, Sunday at 5 in the morning. And I was like, what? So you really need level 2 charging, and this is a pre-production truck. It's on the window sticker. It was very, I mean, this is a pre-production media vehicle, so I think it may be a firmware thing. It wouldn't cooperate with the level 2 charger, throws a charging fault, and it may just be the charger I have at work. But at the same time, that charger is charging a Mach-E and a Tesla and a Transit electric at the same time. The price is the last thing for me. That just, every time somebody asks me, what do you think of it? I'm like, well, it's really torquey, has some great technology. I think it looks nice. It's got massage seats. It's got Blue Cruise. but it costs over $90,000. And everybody's like, what? Yeah, sticker shock. That's not a sort of pun intended. That's expensive. That to me is a little bit of a barrier. It's a mental barrier. It's a lot of money, especially now when you can spend less than that and get a really, really nice, like I would get a Raptor, but that's my enthusiast tendency. I really like the new Gen 3 Raptor. So those are some of my thoughts on the F-150 Lightning. I do have another more informal vlog where I show behind the scenes, day-to-day living with it, having a bit of fun with the Lightning, sharing some of what it was like to spend a week driving this thing. I'm happy that I got to experience what this is like. And again, it's solidified kind of the distinction in my mind that the Rivian and the Hummer EV aren't really direct competitors. I think once we get the Silverado EV, that will be the most direct competition in terms of similar usages, similar lineup, similar performance, tech, pricing, things like that. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the F-150 Lightning. Definitely check out Recurrent too. They sponsored today's video. If you have an EV, if you have a Lightning, you're thinking about buying one or any other electric vehicle, they have some really awesome information on the health of your battery, which is important because that's a very expensive part of your vehicle. Thanks for watching. For $75,000 range. Shh, quiet down. Oh my God. Being interrupted by a freight train.